Have you ever wondered why we constantly postpone happiness? We convince ourselves that once we have the car we desire, a house like those showcased on TV, a partner, a family, or a better job, surely that's when we'll be happy. But each time we reach one of those goals, we can barely taste happiness before a new target emerges. Is it something inherent to the human essence to yearn for the unattainable? Or are we being manipulated into believing so? Let's find out through the story that Guy de Maupassant wrote 140 years ago.
Salam. Today I'll take you to a time when genies granted wishes, jinns controlled human souls, and many wonders could be found in the bazaars. I'll guide you through a journey that will last 1,000,001 nights.
The necklace. Welcome to another episode of 1,000,001 Nights, where we bring life to untold stories that stir the soul. Today's story is about a woman, let's call her Emma, who was born into a simple life but dreamt of luxury and sophistication. Emma was a pretty and charming girl who seemed to have been born into the wrong family. She had no dowry, no wealthy background, no social connections, and so she found herself married to Loisel, a minor official at the Ministry of Education. You see, Emma dressed plainly, not by choice but by necessity. However, her lack of material wealth didn't stop her from filling the void within her.
I never thought I'd be stuck in a life like this. These walls, these chairs, this life, it's all so drab. How different things could have been. The antechambers with oriental tapestries, footmen in knee-length breeches, vast living rooms with rare old silks. How grand life could be.
Ah, beef stew, what could be better?
Silverware, tapestries that tell tales of another time, delicious dishes that are a feast not just for the stomach but for the eyes and soul.
Yes, Emma dreamed as she lived in her little world full of bigger aspirations. Her dreams were her escape, a parallel universe where she lived the life she thought she deserved, a life filled with all the delicacies and luxuries she so deeply craved. Her love for material things made it difficult for her to find happiness in her simple life. At this point, you can easily judge Emma and label her as a spoiled brat. But think, isn't this what most of us do every day? In today's world, with the prevalence of social media, this behavior has become even more apparent. We perceive ourselves as the protagonists of our own stories, often sacrificing relationships, mental peace, and genuine connections to amass possessions and experiences we believe happy and successful people must surely have. We spend hours curating our social media profiles, showcasing what we think epitomizes our best life and the bliss we experience. Ask yourself, how many hours did you spend the last week on social media? Emma had a rich friend from her school days. Visiting her brought her nothing but agony.
Every time I leave her house, I can't help but cry. She has everything I've ever wanted. It's too painful.
Look, here's something for you.
And what is this supposed to be?
It was an invitation from the Minister of Education for an exclusive gathering. One might think that Emma would be thrilled, but...
What do you want me to do with this?
I thought you'd be pleased. This is a very exclusive event. It's a great opportunity for us.
And what do you expect me to wear if I go?
The dress you go to the theater in seems nice to me.
Her husband was stunned to see Emma's eyes fill with tears. What he saw as an opportunity, she saw as a glaring reminder of what she didn't have.
What's the matter?
I just don't have a dress fit for such an occasion. Give your invitation to someone whose wife is better suited for this kind of event.
How much would a decent dress cost, Emma? One that's good enough for the event but simple enough to wear again?
I don't know exactly, but I think I could make do with 400 francs.
Her husband's face lost a shade of color. He had been saving that exact amount for a personal treat, a hunting trip he had been looking forward to.
Very well, I can give you 400 francs. But please, make sure to get a really beautiful dress.
The dissatisfaction that Emma feels with her life is reflected in the dynamic that Emma and Loisel have created in their marriage. He tries to please her even when it means setting aside his own interests and hobbies. It's easy to underestimate women like Emma and Madame Bovary, but remember, these are women of the 17th century with very rigid social roles. They had no financial autonomy or political power. Their role in society was limited to being mothers and wives, and the only way they participated in social life outside their homes was through social events. Now you understand why Emma was so concerned about her attire at this significant event. What it is important to understand here is that when there is a lack of purpose, we tend to assign excessive importance to material possessions, because material wealth is often associated with success and status in society. People without a defined purpose may seek external validation and social approval through the acquisition of visible symbols of success. Besides that, the pursuit of material wealth can provide a temporary sense of accomplishment or pleasure. It offers tangible and immediate rewards, unlike the more complex and long-term pursuit of a personal or meaningful purpose. Do you live your life with a sense of purpose, giving priority to what matters to you? Or do you leave it to society to dictate what should be important? As the day of the grand event approached, Emma, referred to in her societal role as Madame Loisel, found herself engulfed in a different kind of discontent. Though she had her new dress, her anxieties hadn't vanished.
What's the matter? You've been acting strange these last 3 days.
I have no jewels to wear with my dress. I'm going to look so plain. I'd almost rather not go to the party.
Why not wear flowers? They're quite fashionable now. A few splendid roses should do the trick, and it wouldn't cost much.
Flowers? Really? No, you don't understand. There's nothing more humiliating than looking poor in a room full of rich women.
How silly of us. Why don't you go see your friend Madame Forestier? Ask her if you could borrow some jewels. You're close enough for that, aren't you?
Of course, I hadn't thought of that.
In high societal circles, where status is often associated with material wealth, appearance, and social standing, there can be an unspoken pressure for individuals, particularly women, to conform to certain standards. The pursuit of societal approval and the desire to maintain or elevate one's status can create an environment of competition rather than camaraderie. The phrase, "there's nothing more humiliating than looking poor in a room full of rich women," reflects the societal emphasis on material wealth and the impact of social comparisons. In such circles, where appearances are highly valued, individuals may feel the need to conform to an idealized image of success and affluence. This pressure can lead to judgment and sometimes cruelty towards those who deviate from these expectations. Historical and cultural factors have often pitted women against each other, fostering a sense of competition for limited resources, attention, or opportunities. The internalization of these societal norms can contribute to women scrutinizing and critiquing each other, creating an environment that may seem cruel. It's essential to recognize that these behaviors are not inherent to women, but are shaped by societal structures. By understanding the roots of such dynamics, we can work towards fostering environments that celebrate diversity, encourage support among women, and challenge narrow definitions of success and worth. Breaking free from these societal expectations allows for more genuine connections and a collective upliftment, rather than perpetuating a cycle of judgment and cruelty.
Choose, my dear.
And what a choice it was! Bracelets, a pearl necklace, and a Venetian gold cross set with precious stones. Despite these splendid options, Emma's eyes set on something else altogether.
Do you have anything else?
I do, but it depends on your taste.
Then it appeared, a diamond necklace, so radiant that it sent shivers down Emma's spine.
Could you lend me this, just this one?
Of course.
Overcome with gratitude and joy, Emma embraced her friend and left with her newfound treasure. Finally, the long-awaited day of the soirée has arrived. Madame Loisel, now adorned with the dazzling diamond necklace, is radiant. Tonight, she isn't just another face in the crowd. She is the face in the crowd.
Who is that woman? She's absolutely stunning.
I don't know, but I must meet her.
Emma becomes the center of attention, the star around which all other guests orbit.
May I have this waltz?
I saw her first. Madame, would you honor me with a dance?
Even the minister himself, surrounded by a constellation of high society, couldn't help but notice her.
Oh my, who is that remarkable woman?
For one fleeting night, Emma is no longer bound by the constraints of her ordinary life. She soars high, free from the gravitational pull of her societal limitations. She dances wildly with passion, intoxicated by pleasure, forgetting everything in the triumph of her beauty and the glory of her success. The clock strikes 4 in the morning. Her husband has been dozing since midnight in a little deserted anteroom.
It's time to go, my dear.
They walked on the street, trying to find a taxi until they finally caught one. When they reached their apartment, they felt tired but glad to be home.
I have to be back at the office by 10.
Before the mirror, she takes one final look at herself, still in the glow of the evening's triumph. But then she utters a cry. The necklace. It was gone.
What is the matter?
I no longer have Madame Forestier's necklace.
They search frantically, their fingers running through the folds of her elegant dress, her cloak, rummaging through pockets.
Are you sure you still had it on when you left the ball?
Yes, I touched it in the hall at the ministry.
But if you had lost it in the street, we would have heard it fall. It must be in the cab.
Yes, that's probably it. Did you take his number?
No, and didn't you notice it?
No.
They stare at each other, their faces pale, the weight of the situation sinking in. Loisel, gathering his wits, gets dressed.
I'm going back over the whole route we walked to see if I can find it.
He leaves. She remains in her ball dress, sitting on a chair, her mind blank, waiting. Hours pass. Finally, Loisel returns.
I found nothing. You must write to your friend. Tell her you have broken the clasp of her necklace and that you are having it mended. It will give us time to look some more. We must consider how to replace the jewel.
Now let's pause for a moment. Emma has unfortunately misplaced the borrowed necklace. In this situation, there are three options: informing Madame Forestier about the loss and offering to compensate, attempting to replace it without her noticing, or simply never returning the necklace. Let's assume that Emma and Loisel, like us, are responsible individuals and dismiss the third option. What would you do in such a scenario? The most logical approach seems to be disclosing the loss to the owner and offering to cover the costs. However, they quickly consider the second option. Why? It becomes evident that they hold certain deeply ingrained values, and without questioning, prioritize maintaining a particular social image. Their pride and commitment to upholding this image deter them from immediately admitting the loss. The next day, armed with the box that once held the treasured necklace, they visit the jeweler whose name graces the inside of the case.
It was not I, madam, who sold the necklace. I must simply have supplied the case.
Their hearts sink further as they go from jeweler to jeweler, trying to find a necklace that could replace the lost one. Their faces are weary, their spirits crushed. At a shop in the Palais Royal, they finally find what they're looking for, a string of diamonds that is almost an exact match. But the price is steep, costing them 36,000 francs.
Is this it? It looks similar, doesn't it?
I think so, yes.
Can you hold this for 3 days? And can we return it for 34,000 if we find the original necklace?
Very well, it's a deal.
Loisel gathers every bit of cash he can muster, borrowing from friends, acquaintances, even shady moneylenders. He's trading his future peace of mind for this necklace. The necklace is theirs, and when Madame Loisel returns it to Madame Forestier, she receives a chilling response.
You should have returned it sooner. I might have needed it.
To her relief, Madame Forestier does not open the case. One can't help but wonder, what would have happened if she had?
If she had detected the substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Would she have taken me for a thief?
The ordeal changes Emma's life completely. They move to a garret under the roof, dismissing their maid and adjusting to a life of poverty. She embraces housework, her once rosy nails tarnished by greasy pots and pans. She haggles at the market, fights over every sou, and carries out the tedious tasks of household upkeep. Loisel works tirelessly, taking on extra jobs, his eyes squinting at manuscripts late into the night, all to pay back the ruinous debt they've incurred. 10 years pass, and they finally manage to settle all their debts. But the cost is immeasurable. Madame Loisel is no longer the woman she once was.
It's over. We've paid it all back.
Old and worn, with hands red from labor, she ponders what might have been as she gazes out of her window.
What would have happened if I had not lost that necklace? How little is needed for one to be ruined or saved?
On a fine Sunday, Emma is walking in the Champs-Élysées. Fate has one last surprise for her, an encounter with an old friend.
Good morning, Madame Forestier.
But, Madame, I don't know you. You must have made a mistake.
No, I am Emma.
Oh, my poor Emma, how you've changed.
Yes, I've had some hard times since I last saw you and many miseries, all because of you.
Me? How can that be?
Emma spills out the entire story, revealing the secret she's carried for 10 long years.
You remember the diamond necklace you lent me? Well, I lost it.
What do you mean you brought it back?
I brought you another exactly like it. It took us 10 years to pay for it, but it's over and I'm glad.
A moment of silence falls upon them, broken only by Madame Forestier's stunned revelation.
You say you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine?
Yes, you didn't notice then? They were very similar.
Oh, my poor Emma. Mine was an imitation. It was worth 500 francs at most.
The necklace itself serves as a symbol of false values and misplaced priorities. Emma believes that material possessions define one's worth and social standing, but the necklace, in the end, turns out to be a worthless imitation. The story employs irony to highlight the contrast between appearance and reality. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more captivating stories that resonate with the threads of our shared humanity. Thank you for joining us on 1,000,001 Nights.